There is a woman who walks into a room and something shifts. You can't quite name it. She isn't the loudest person there. She isn't wearing the flashiest outfit. She hasn't announced herself in any way. But everyone, and I mean everyone, notices her. And then there's someone else. Expensive bag, designer logo, perfect blowout. And yet somehow, nothing. No presence, no pull, no quiet authority. What's the difference? That's exactly what we're unpacking today. Because class, real class, has almost nothing to do with money. It has nothing to do with the label on your coat, the car you drive, or whether your shoes cost $300 or $3,000. Real class is a frequency, a way of moving through the world, a collection of silent signals that most people miss entirely until they're in the presence of someone who has them, and then suddenly they feel it everywhere. Today, we're going to name those signals, all 10 of them, and I promise you, by the time we get to number 4, you'll understand why it's the one that almost nobody talks about, and yet it's the one that separates the truly elegant from everyone else pretending to be. So let's begin. Signal number 1, the way they enter a room, without announcing it. There's an old saying in certain European circles: the woman who needs to announce her arrival has already lost the room. Think about that for a moment. We live in an era of personal branding, loud energy, and performative confidence. Everyone is entering rooms with big gestures, dramatic greetings, scanning to see who noticed them walk in. And look, there's nothing inherently wrong with warmth or energy, but there is something profoundly different about the person who doesn't need any of that. The woman with real class enters quietly. Not timidly, there's a crucial difference. Quietly, with complete awareness of her surroundings, a soft but genuine smile, and the kind of posture that suggests she has nowhere else she'd rather be, and nowhere to prove herself to. She doesn't immediately check who's looking at her. She looks at the room. She takes it in. She is observant before she is observed. This is actually deeply grounded in old world etiquette. In aristocratic European households, children were taught from a young age that drawing attention to yourself unnecessarily was considered a form of insecurity. The idea being, you should be so comfortable in your own skin that you don't need the room to validate you. Now, think about what this looks like in real life today. It shows up in the woman who doesn't loudly announce she's arrived at dinner with a theatrical, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry I'm late, the traffic was insane." It shows up in the guest who sits down gracefully before adjusting anything, bag, coat, hair, instead of creating a 5-minute production of getting settled. It shows up in how she wears her clothes too. A woman with quiet class doesn't wear her outfit like a costume she's performing in. She wears it like a second skin. Whether she's in a beautifully cut camel coat and simple loafers, or a silk blouse tucked into tailored trousers, you can tell she dressed for herself, not for the reaction. The entrance sets the tone, and the classiest people in the world have mastered the art of the quiet, powerful, unforgettable entrance. Signal number 2, they never speak ill of anyone in public, not even once. Here's something that will make you rethink every dinner conversation you've ever had. The people with the most genuine class are almost impossible to pull into gossip. Not because they're naive, not because they're unaware of people's flaws, but because they understand something most people don't. What you say about others tells everyone in the room far more about you than it does about the person you're talking about. Read that again. When you sit at a table and someone begins dissecting another person's choices, her relationship, her parenting, her weight, her career, and you join in, you've just shown everyone present the exact kind of person you are when they're not in the room. The classy woman knows this instinctively, so she pivots, gracefully, without making anyone feel called out. She might say something like, "I actually don't know enough about her situation to have an opinion." Or she simply asks a question that redirects the conversation entirely. A soft subject change, a smile, a slight lift of her coffee cup. No lecture, no moral high ground, just a quiet, practiced refusal to participate. This isn't just elegant behavior. It's actually deeply intelligent behavior. The people who never speak ill publicly are almost always the people others trust most deeply. And trust, in every social and professional circle, is a currency more valuable than almost anything else. This also shows up in how a classy woman speaks about herself. She doesn't overshare. She doesn't run herself down for laughs. That kind of self-deprecation that becomes a habit, shrinking yourself to make others more comfortable. She speaks about her own life with a quiet dignity. She doesn't need your sympathy, and she's not performing her hardship. Think about the women you most admire in your life, the ones who feel genuinely elevated, genuinely trustworthy. I'd be willing to bet that almost none of them are the ones who gossip, and almost all of them have this quality, this gracious, composed refusal to tear anyone down. That's class. Real, unshakable class. Signal number 3. Their home tells a story, not a status report. Walk into the home of someone with genuine refinement, and you'll notice something almost immediately. It doesn't feel like a showroom. It doesn't feel like a mood board come to life or a curated Instagram aesthetic. It feels like a life. There are books that have been read, not just arranged by color for aesthetics, but actually read, spines cracked, pages marked. There are objects that mean something. A ceramic vase from a trip to Portugal, a framed photograph taken on an unremarkable Tuesday that captured something luminous. There's a worn leather chair that's clearly someone's favorite spot in the world. The classiest homes are not the most expensive homes. They are the most intentional homes. This is one of the most overlooked signals of genuine class, the ability to create an environment that reflects inner life rather than projected wealth. Anyone can hire an interior designer and buy all the right things, but filling a space with meaning, with warmth, with that elusive quality of a home that feels like it actually belongs to someone, that takes something money cannot purchase. And the same principle extends to personal style. The woman of true elegance doesn't dress to show you what she can afford. She dresses to show you who she is. Her wardrobe has a personality, a coherence. Whether it's beautifully tailored basics in a palette of ivory, navy, and warm camel, or vintage silk scarves she's collected over 15 years, it tells a story, her story. There's a reason the old money aesthetic resonates so deeply with so many people right now. It's not really about money at all. It's about intentionality. The idea that you've thought about what you're choosing to surround yourself with. That you haven't just accumulated, you've curated. With care, with taste, with genuine self-knowledge. That quiet intentionality in how someone lives, dresses, and creates their surroundings, it's one of the most powerful silent signals of real class there is. Signal number 4. They make you feel like the most important person in the room. And here it is, the one most people miss. Not because it's subtle, because it's hiding in plain sight. Because we're so conditioned to associate class with how someone looks, what they wear, how much they own, that we completely overlook the most powerful expression of genuine refinement there is. The ability to make another person feel truly seen. Here's what I mean. Have you ever spoken with someone at a party, at work, even for just a few minutes, and walked away feeling inexplicably lifted? Like the conversation meant something? Like you were actually listened to, not just heard? That feeling is rare. And it comes from one thing. The other person was fully present with you. Not glancing at their phone, not scanning the room over your shoulder, not waiting for their turn to speak. Fully, genuinely present. This is a skill. And in a world of chronic distraction, it has become one of the rarest and most powerful things one human being can offer another. The woman with real class has mastered this. When she speaks with you, you have her attention. Not a portion of it, all of it. She asks questions that show she was actually listening. She remembers details, not in a performative way, but because she was genuinely interested in what you said. She makes eye contact that is warm, not invasive. She responds to what you actually said, not to what she was already planning to say. This is the signal that transcends every external marker of elegance. A woman can be wearing the most exquisite wardrobe in the room, perfectly pressed white linen, Italian leather flats, a silk scarf tied just so. And if she makes every person she speaks to feel invisible or diminished, that external beauty collapses immediately. But the woman in a simple, well-fitted black dress who listens to you like you're the most fascinating person she's met in years, you will remember her forever. You will think of her when someone asks you to name someone truly elegant. You will tell other people about her, and you won't even fully understand why. This is what the old etiquette books were really trying to teach when they spoke about deportment, social grace, the art of conversation. It wasn't about which fork to use. It was about this, the ability to honor another person's presence, to make them feel worth your full attention. If you take one thing from this video, let it be this. Class is not about how you present yourself to the world. It's about how you make other people feel in your presence. That is the signal most people miss, and it's the most important one of all. Signal number 5. They handle uncomfortable situations without losing composure. Every person on Earth encounters situations that could unravel them. A rude comment at a dinner party, a moment of public embarrassment, someone who is clearly trying to provoke a reaction, a disagreement that threatens to become something uglier. The difference between someone with genuine class and someone without it isn't that classy people don't feel those moments. They absolutely do. They feel the flush of embarrassment, the sharp sting of an unkind remark, the very human urge to react. The difference is what they choose to do with it. There's a particular kind of grace that belongs to the person who can absorb a difficult moment without performance, without crumbling, and without retaliation. Who can hear something cutting and respond with something measured, or simply choose not to respond at all, which is sometimes the most powerful choice available. Think of the woman who receives a backhanded compliment. "Oh, you look so good, you've lost weight." And instead of either collapsing into self-consciousness or firing something back, simply smiles and says, "Thank you, that's kind of you." Moving on entirely, not feeding the awkwardness, not playing the game. Or the person at a professional dinner who overhears a dismissive comment about their work and doesn't immediately defend themselves, doesn't make a scene, waits, considers, chooses their moment and their words with intention. This composure under social fire is actually one of the oldest markers of noble character across many cultures. In Japanese culture, there's a concept called gammon, which loosely translates to bearing the unbearable with patience and dignity. In British aristocratic tradition, keeping one's composure was considered the highest form of personal discipline. Across cultures and centuries, the ability to hold yourself steady in difficult moments has been recognized as the mark of someone truly refined. And it shows in the smallest things, too. The woman who spills something at dinner and laughs softly rather than spiraling into mortification. The person who is accidentally excluded from a conversation and finds a gracious way to re-engage without making anyone feel guilty. The guest who is seated next to a difficult personality at a dinner party and navigates it with such skill that no one else at the table even senses the tension. These moments of quiet mastery are everywhere, and they are unmistakable signals of real class. Signal number 6. Their grooming is always immaculate, in a way that looks effortless. Here's where we talk beauty and grooming for a moment. Because this signal is deeply visual, and it's one that people notice even when they don't consciously register it. The woman with genuine class is not necessarily wearing the most complex beauty look in the room. She isn't always in full glamour. What she is, always, is impeccably groomed. Clean, cared for, put together in a way that looks as though it took no effort at all, which of course means it took significant effort. This is the paradox of true elegance in beauty. It should look natural, inevitable, like she simply woke up like this, when in reality, she has a consistent, disciplined routine that makes effortless possible. Think about what this looks like. Healthy, well-conditioned hair that's either beautifully styled or gracefully pulled back. Never a middle ground chaos. Skin that's moisturized and cared for, whether she wears foundation or nothing at all. Nails that are clean, shaped, and either neutral or a classic color. A signature scent that arrives gently before her and lingers tastefully after she's left.
None of these things are expensive requirements. They are discipline requirements. They are self-respect requirements. The classy woman understands that grooming is a form of self-communication. It tells the people around you, I respect myself enough to take care of myself. And by extension, I will likely extend that same care and respect to others. Contrast this with the concept of trying too hard, which is equally readable and equally not classy. The outfit that's fighting itself with too many statement pieces. The perfume that announces itself 2 rooms ahead. The hair that's been treated within an inch of its life but hasn't found stillness. Real elegance in grooming is always about restraint, choosing one thing to do beautifully rather than 10 things at medium quality. A perfect cat eye and bare lips. A gorgeous silk blouse and no jewelry. One excellent fragrance worn consistently until it becomes part of your signature. The women who embody quiet luxury understand this almost instinctively. Less is always more. Always. Signal number 7. They are deeply, genuinely punctual. This one sounds simple. It isn't. Punctuality, real punctuality, the kind that's habitual and consistent, is one of the most quietly powerful signals of class, respect, and character that exists, and it's one of the most overlooked. Being on time is not about logistics, it's about values. When you are consistently on time, you are communicating something profound to every person you meet. Your time matters to me. Your presence is worth my preparation. I respect you enough to prioritize you. And when you are consistently late, you are communicating the inverse, whether you mean to or not. The habitually late person, and we all know one, perhaps we've been one, is unconsciously but unmistakably signaling that other things took priority, that the other person's waiting time is not a significant cost, that preparation is optional. In old aristocratic European circles, particularly in British, French, and Nordic cultures, habitual lateness was considered almost aggressively rude, not forgivably chaotic, genuinely disrespectful. Now, life happens. Trains are canceled, children are unpredictable, meetings run over. A truly classy person knows this and communicates accordingly. A brief, genuine message explaining the delay without theatrical excuses. Because here's the thing, it's not about perfection. It's about the habit and the intention. The woman with genuine class builds her schedule around being on time. She leaves earlier than necessary. She factors in uncertainty. She treats the appointment, the dinner, the meeting as a commitment worthy of her full respect. And the effect of this on how others perceive her? Enormous. People trust her. They count on her. They feel valued in her presence. Signal number 8. They spend on quality rather than quantity. And it shows. Here's something the truly elegant understand that the aspirationally wealthy often don't. A wardrobe of 20 intentional pieces will always look more expensive. more considered, more refined than a closet overflowing with 300 things bought on impulse. This is the quiet luxury principle at its most concrete, and it applies to everything: clothes, shoes, accessories, home, beauty. The woman with real class invests in fewer, better things, and then she wears them, repeatedly, without apology. Think about the signals this sends. When someone wears the same beautifully cut wool coat season after season, they're communicating that they chose this coat because it was worth choosing, not because it was on trend, not because it was on sale, not because they needed something new. They chose it because it was excellent, and excellence doesn't expire. This is the philosophy behind the old money wardrobe: a cashmere turtleneck in a perfect shade of cream, a pair of leather loafers that have been resold twice because they're too well made to replace, a single strand of real pearls, or a delicate gold chain worn every single day until it becomes part of the signature.
The aspirational version of luxury is about logos. The authentic version is about quality, about the feel of a fabric, the fall of a hem, the way something moves when you walk, about investing in things that have integrity and wearing them with the quiet confidence of someone who doesn't need to justify her choices. This extends beyond clothes, naturally. It shows up in the woman who orders one beautiful glass of the right wine rather than the whole bottle of something mediocre, who invests in one excellent piece of furniture rather than filling a room quickly with things that will need replacing, who chooses the single great perfume over the cluttered shelf of impulse purchases. Quality over quantity is not about exclusivity. It's about discernment, about knowing what you value and being willing to wait for it. And that discernment, that patience, is one of the most elegant things a person can embody. Signal number 9. They know when to speak and when to be silent. There is a category of silence that most people are deeply uncomfortable with: the conversational pause, the moment at a dinner table when no one is speaking, the beat of quiet after someone shares something meaningful. And in their discomfort, many people immediately fill that silence with words, with laughter, with a story about themselves, anything to cover the space. The result is a conversation that never actually goes anywhere deep, because depth requires silence. Depth requires the willingness to sit in a moment and let it breathe. The woman with real class has made peace with silence. She is not afraid of it. She can sit at a dinner table when conversation pauses and simply be, comfortable, warm, present, without scrambling to fill the void. She can hear something significant and take a moment to think before she responds, rather than reflexively reacting. And when she speaks, she has something to say. Not because she has the most information or the most experience, but because she's actually thought about what she's contributing. Her words are considered. They carry weight. They mean something. There's also the discipline of knowing not to speak. Not every thought needs to be shared. Not every opinion needs to be voiced. The classy woman has opinions, strong ones often, but she knows the difference between a conversation that would benefit from her perspective and a moment that calls for her to simply listen. In the world of social media and constant commentary, this restraint is radical. The ability to observe without immediately broadcasting, to experience without immediately performing, to think without immediately publishing. It is, in many ways, the most countercultural form of class available to us right now. Signal number 10. They carry themselves with a quietude that can't be faked. We've arrived at the last signal, and in many ways, it's the one that underlies all the others. Quietude. Not quietness, not being a quiet person by personality. Quietude, an inner stillness, a settled quality, a sense that this person knows who she is and is not at war with that knowledge. It shows up in posture. The woman with real class stands and sits with a natural upright ease. Not rigid, not stiff, but aligned, grounded. Like she's comfortable taking up her space in the world without either shrinking from it or aggressively claiming more than she needs. It shows up in eye contact, in the steadiness of her gaze. Warm, direct, unafraid. It shows up in how she reacts when she's praised. She receives a compliment gracefully. Thank you, that means a lot, without deflecting it into the floor or inflating it into a performance. She can receive kindness without either dismissing it or becoming overwhelmed by it. It shows up in how she handles being criticized, not defensively, not by crumbling, but with a kind of reflective openness that says, I am secure enough in my sense of self to consider this feedback without being destroyed by it. This quietude, this deep, settled sense of self, is the single quality that underlies every other signal we've talked about today. It is why she can enter a room without announcing herself, why she doesn't need to gossip, why she can be fully present with another person, why she handles difficult moments with grace and composure. Because at the very core of her being, she is not performing for an audience. She is not seeking external validation. She knows who she is. She has worked, probably quite hard, to become a person she genuinely respects. And that self-knowledge radiates. It creates the frequency that people sense when she walks into a room and can't quite name. This quietude cannot be bought. It cannot be curated or styled or applied like a product. It comes from inner work, from honest self-reflection, from the patient, ongoing practice of choosing who you want to be, and then living that choice quietly every single day. That is what real class looks like from the inside. The takeaway. Let's bring it all together. We talked about 10 silent signals: the quiet entrance, the refusal to speak ill of others, the intentional home and wardrobe, the rare and exquisite gift of making someone feel truly seen, the signal most people miss, the composure under pressure, the impeccable, effortless grooming, the deep respect for other people's time, the investment in quality over quantity, the discipline of knowing when to speak and when to be beautifully, powerfully silent, and finally, the quietude that can't be faked and cannot be bought. Here is what I want to leave you with. Class is not a destination. It's not a status you achieve and then possess forever. It's a practice, a daily, ongoing, deeply personal practice of becoming more refined, more considered, more genuinely present in your own life and in your interactions with others. It lives in the small moments, in the pause before you respond, in the extra 5 minutes you give yourself to arrive on time, in the way you listen, really listen when someone is speaking, in the choice to buy one beautiful thing instead of 10 mediocre ones, in the decision not to repeat the unkind thing you heard, in the way you walk into a room, grounded, warm, unhurried. No one is born with this. Every single woman you admire for her elegance has made thousands of small, daily choices to become who she is. She chose composure over reactivity, intention over impulse, quality over quantity, presence over performance. And those choices, made quietly, consistently over time, create a frequency that every room eventually notices. You have everything you need to build that frequency for yourself. If this video resonated with you, if it gave you something to think about or reminded you of a woman you deeply admire, I would love for you to subscribe and stay with this community. We talk about these things here, not surface elegance, not trends, not the price of things. The real, deep, lasting work of becoming the kind of woman that people remember long after she's left the room. I'll see you in the next one.